Welcome to Parent, Parenting Unfiltered, with Jennifer Morrison, founder of Parent to Parent. This is a space where real conversations about parenting happen. Jennifer sits down with mums, dads, and carers to share their stories, the wins, the worries, and the moments that remind us we're not in this alone. With honesty, empathy, and a focus on what really matters, these conversations strip away the pressure and get to the heart of parenting. Because parenting isn't perfect, it's real. And here, it's unfiltered.
So welcome to another Unfiltered Parenting podcast. I'm Jennifer, and today I have a wonderful mum who's going to share some really interesting and deep feelings around almost a taboo subject that we all probably try and pretend isn't there, but it definitely is. And it's something that as mums, it's not spoken about much, and that is being angry. And we're going to have a look at it. Motherhood is usually painted as wonderful, that you're patient and you've got endless love for your kids. And it should be the most natural thing that we've ever done, and that it should just come easily for us. But for many mums, behind the smiles and all the Instagram posts and everything, there is a totally different world, and it can be full of frustration, exhaustion, and resentment, and many more things. But admitting that you're an angry mum is a little bit by taking taboo rules, and it's something that most of us try and hide. So society tells us we're not supposed to be angry mums. But the truth is that we can be, and all I'm sure have been in a space where we've been angry, because I know I definitely have been, because I'm a human and mums are humans. It's a single signal, though, that possibly something deeper is going on. And this is what our conversation is going to be about today. So while we're not trying to fulfill everybody's expectations about being perfect mums, we're going to talk about the imperfections that us mums have, and that it's totally okay to have them. So my guest today is Naomi Galliano, and she is going to share with us some of the story of her life and her journey of motherhood. So let's start, Naomi, and thank you for coming today and sharing with me.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me on. I absolutely love the work that you're doing and the stories that you're sharing to spread awareness. It's very needed, so thank you.
Thank you. And you're doing the same. You're helping so many women out there as well. So it's an important area, and I think that we're all in that space now where we really just want to share and love the women in our lives and give them our lived experience, and they can take or leave the information and the guidance that they need. So you've said that motherhood sometimes felt like a constant anger and guilt space. Can you describe what that looked like day to day? So we're going to jump right into this.
Excellent. Yeah. So it's been a while since I've been in that space, but in the thick of it. And you know what, Jennifer, I can actually recall a story of the very first time I lost it with my daughter. And for all listeners, this is going to sound pretty shocking, so it might even trigger you, but I think it's really important to share because this is something that we don't talk about. So I left an abusive relationship and became a single mother when I was 21. And I did have some family support, but I was on my own. And I remember moving out of where I was living with my sister and brother-in-law, and I was moving out into my own house and trying to unpack my house. And at the time, my daughter was only 8 months old. And this kid, she just would not stop crying. And I was trying to do the things and unpack because I had work that week and everything.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I found myself losing it and just going, just shush, like to this little 8-month-old baby who really was completely innocent and just needed a mum who could sit and be, or someone who could sit and be present with her.
Yeah.
And I was not emotionally available for that. I didn't have the awareness, the maturity, the close bond with her, the understanding of myself even, to know what it was that a little baby really needed at that time.
Mm.
And I share this with you because I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who has found myself struggling with anger and frustration in motherhood. And unfortunately for me, it only really continued from there. And so my daughter in particular, she was a child that needed a lot and she was very demanding. And she would fight everything. And even once I got married when she was 3.5, and I then did have support, I did have Nana who was helping look after her.
Yeah.
The relationship with my daughter was not one, it was not an easy one.
Yeah.
And so by the time she was 8 or 9, with how much she triggered me, and from there and beyond, I remember even just being so frustrated with her that, and just to have not having had a good history of experiences with her, that, and her just being so demanding and difficult, that when I did see her, it was, oh, what now? And with the understanding I have now, being trauma informed and knowing what kids truly need, the signal and the message I was sending to her was, you're not wanted. And that's something that I wish so much that I could go back and change. Yet at the same time, with where I was at, I was doing the best that I could with what I had. And look, this is not to say, just as well to add context, that we didn't have good times. We did get along. She was very bright. We played games. We connected together. We did the colouring. We did the things together and did have our good times as well. But unfortunately, with how I experienced her due to my own unhealed stuff that I was dealing with, the relationship was strained and difficult, and it continued on even at the age of 12, 13, I think 12. I had 2 younger kids. My boys were 5 and 6 years younger than her. They were both diagnosed with autism when they were 2.
Okay.
So I was managing, looking after kids with special needs and early intervention and all of that. And then in the background, she was just fighting us with everything. So we sent her to boarding school at that time.
Wow. Tell me, I'm sorry to interject there because that's a big jump. So what was the rationale around boarding school? Were you a long way from somewhere, or why did that come about?
Because I just couldn't cope.
Okay.
I
Right.
couldn't cope anymore, and my husband was tired of seeing me constantly argue and fight with her over everything.
What
So
age was she when you did this?
she was 12, so she went to
12.
boarding school from 12 to 15.
Okay. Wow. And how did you feel about that?
Relieved at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I share this because I know I wouldn't be the only one, and I know to other mothers listening, it would be like, wow, that's horrible and that's heartless and all the things. But that's also how much I was struggling within myself at the time.
Mm.
And it was a relief, because when she was at boarding school, even with what I was dealing with at home, it was quite peaceful.
Yeah.
But I recognize now, and started to recognize years ago, that she just wasn't getting her needs met. And it did also later come out, because she, like I said, she's very bright, she's very capable. She is actually a young woman who has ASD herself. And she also has this other thing, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's called pathological demand avoidance, which basically means, with these children that have this, it's a profile of autism, that if they perceive something as a demand, they literally can't comply.
Okay.
It's an anxiety, it's a neurological anxiety driven need to remain autonomous.
Okay. So just turn something off for them when they hear it as a demand.
Yeah.
Wow.
And with the way at the time that I was parenting, I didn't understand the more gentle options or approaches of giving options, giving choices, being understanding, because as I said, I perceived her as someone who was so capable, so smart, so able, and particularly able to do things for others. It felt like at the time, Jennifer, that she had it in for me.
Yeah, that she was just doing it on purpose to just really grind and grind.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And I know I'm not the only one, because I have parents coming to me that say the same thing, that it feels like Their child is just chipping away at them, waiting for them to explode.
Yeah.
And so as she got older, my explosions were more often over stupid little things, like her job was to put the containers, like empty the dishwasher and she'd put the lunchbox containers away, but she'd put them away wet. And I told her so many times, you need to dry them first. And then I'd be rushing in the morning, because that was how I used to operate, rushing to get everyone ready and out of the house. And then these stupid containers were still wet and I couldn't just pack them. And that would tip me over the edge, like silly little things like that. And one of my mentors, he has this saying that when we're hysterical, it's historical, which means when our emotional reaction in the moment is not proportionate to the trigger, then something historical is being triggered. And so knowing that helps me to put it all into context. And like I said, that's a long way behind me now, not just because she's grown up, but because of how much I was able to heal and change. But Jennifer, if I could go back and get the help that I got, which helped me to shift things so that I could have been a different mother for her, I 100% would.
And look, just speaking from my own experience, I would love to go back and be able to undo quite a bit as well. I think most mothers feel that, and I think to a greater or lesser degree, most mums feel that. But I also know from my own experience, and I'm hearing you, that when you're a mum, there's so much going on, there's so much pressure. And the fact that we are almost expected to take a deep breath and sit down for 15 minutes and soft manage with the child until we get things sorted, it's just too hard to do. That whole calming down and having that soft space can be so difficult. And you didn't find it until later. I certainly didn't find it until later. And now this whole soft parenting thing, which on a certain level I like, is not easy for everybody to do, because it comes down to personalities as well. How calm are you? Some people are very calm, and so they're calm mums. I wasn't a calm mum. I was a calm mum, but I was a stressed mum. And I think stress is part of that hugely. Absolutely.
100%, 100%. And just piggybacking off what you just shared there, I think different women are wired and geared differently towards motherhood. And there are those mums that just seem to have it all together. They've got 5 kids, they're always calm, everything's great, like life is, that's just in their nature, and it's like motherhood comes naturally to them. I'll just put it out there that motherhood did not come naturally to me. I'm one of 7 kids. I'd been around a couple of, or at least one younger baby, and my sister had babies. But motherhood itself did not come naturally to me. I felt lost. I felt like I was never doing it right. I felt like I was never doing enough. I felt like I should have always been doing better. And so in how I was feeling was where I was the angry mum, I also hated myself for being the angry mum, because I did wanted to be better.
Yeah,
but I didn't know how to shift it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's knowing how to shift it. So what happened, or at what space did something, I don't know, did a lightning bolt come across and just smack you and say, I have to change the perspective on this? Or what was it that did that? Where was that line in the sand?
Great question. So as I've alluded to, in a way, I blamed a lot of my anger and frustration on my daughter, right? And so whilst she was at boarding school, so around 2 or 3 years into that, we went through quite a difficult time in our business. So my husband has his own business. For most of our marriage, he'd worked 80 hours a week, at least up until that point. And it's in the building industry. We had a client go broke, another one not able to pay us. And then at the same time, we were renovating the house and had already refinanced. And then the guys working for us were not being productive. And so profit margins were down, and then money wasn't coming in, and we just didn't have a buffer. And I was responsible for the finances. And that sent me into basically curling up in a ball going, what have I done? This is my fault. How did this happen? And so during that period, I remember this moment where I had quite a difficult day with the boys, and having two boys with autism, they were 15 months apart, sorry, 13 months apart, is really difficult.
Yeah.
And I had a particularly tough day with them. I think it had been a big day. We'd been to the shops. There was meltdowns. It was horrible. And then we got home, and then something else happened, and I just lost it. I was just like, just stop. And then broke down in tears. And the moment that I realized something had to shift was the moment that my little boy, my 5-year-old, came up to comfort me.
Mm.
Are you okay, Mummy?
Yeah.
Are you all right? And giving me the pat on the back and the cuddle. And that was when I was like, this is not my daughter's fault. This is not her doing. This is my issue, because if it's coming up out and now with these boys, which up until then I'd been very patient with them,
Okay.
then I was like, this is a me problem.
Yeah.
And I've got to do something to change it. And it's up to me to get this sorted out, because I don't want to inflict this on these kids who at the time I knew had struggles.
Yes.
And as it was, had my youngest problems with his own emotional expression.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be inflicting that on them.
Mm.
So I made the decision in that moment to find something that would actually help it. Now, up until then, I had seen counselors and psychologists and all the things, but nothing had actually helped to shift it.
Okay, what did you do? You came to that realization that it was your stuff for you to sort out. And I get the total thing of not wanting to burden the boys with it, because autism has its own challenges and you don't want to put more layers on that than you need to. So, what did you actually do that has helped you to get to the space where you are now?
Yeah, so it was a good reminder for me. I recognized that I had been living my life in response instead of consciously and intentionally, which is something I learned when I was much younger to do. I reconnected in with my desire and my dreams, which was to get out there and help other women improve their lives and heal from their past, because our past doesn't have to be the predictor for our future. But then I also looked for a therapy when I was listening to all the Hay House and Joe Dispenza stuff. And Joe talks about our automatic thinking patterns. We'll repeat 95% of the same thoughts every day. And so I was trying to do that work and trying to redirect my thoughts and reframe them and all of that. But I'm like, and meditating in the morning, doing all the things. I'm like, this is exhausting. I'm going to be at this for life. And none of this stuff takes into consideration the busy, unpredictable life of a mother. I don't have time to do all these practices and this journaling and this breathing and all this stuff. I'm like, there has to be a way that's easier where we can rewire our automatic thinking patterns and resolve our unprocessed or stuck emotional trauma. And so I actually started researching that. Now, I did find some stuff, but a lot of it, what I found, was made by men. And so I looked for female-specific solution. And I came across a therapy called Creatrix, which was made by a woman for women.
Okay.
Taking into consideration what we are as females, keeping in mind our brains are different, our hormones are different, our lived experience, as we were talking about earlier, in the world is different. We have patriarchal trauma, we have childhood trauma, we have inherited trauma that impacts every aspect of us. And that is different to women than what it is for men. Now, there's plenty of things out there that help people, but they're more effective for men because men think differently to us. Their brains are wired differently.
And and a lot of the self-help things are for men, for the way the men's brain operates, as you said. And I also think this whole sticking post-it notes everywhere to remind yourself to be calm and all that, it sounds good, but it doesn't work, because it isn't something you can take in. And you've got to go in there, don't you? And you've got to pull out this stuff and look at it and actually then find a way to work with that. It's like getting that Play-Doh out, isn't it? And really making it how you want it. And it's no good thinking it. you got to do it somehow, isn't it? And
Yeah.
getting it out of your head, that's the hard bit. So I'm really interested in this creatrix. So yeah, sorry, keep going.
Oh no, yeah. So it's yeah. So like I said, yeah, I agree. And this is again what so many women share with me when they speak with me is they're doing all the things, and I was too, but they know, but they don't know.
Yeah,
And speaking of getting things out and putting good in, that's when you go through the program of Creatrix, that's essentially what you're doing. We're undoing all the female suppression and trauma that has happened to us for thousands of years. That's all coming out and being resolved. And then also what happens is the good, so positive, affirming, helpful beliefs and ways of thinking and perceiving are installed in its place.
yeah.
And so the anger that I was carrying, the guilt of the universe that I was carrying, the shame for how I'd behaved in my past, and also the not good enough was another big thing, just
Yes, yeah.
always feeling
I
not
think
good
a lot
enough.
of women carry that I'm not good enough. Where does that come from? Because we've all got it in there somewhere. There's that
Yeah.
feeling that we haven't done enough, we should do more, we could be more. It's insane. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's passed down. It didn't
Yes.
start with you. It didn't start with me.
Yeah,
Started thousands of years ago when we went from matriarchy to patriarchy, and women have been pressed down and suppressed ever since then.
yeah,
And yes, you're right. I would say 90% of women have an awareness of this feeling not good enough
yeah, yeah.
in some aspect of their life. And yeah, the program of Creatrix really rewires all of that so that you can automatically think differently. It addresses the unresolved emotions so that you can have healthy emotional expression. And so it was nearly 7 years ago that I went through that program, and I've never gone back to how I was every day.
So the program itself, when you did it, was it over a period of months? Was it a just all at one hit? And how quickly could you honestly say that you had turned it over and it wasn't controlling you, you were controlling it?
I would say we resolve different things as we go, but in terms of the anger and how I was showing up, I would say about, for me at the time, around 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
However, with the way the program is designed and runs now, what I see in my clients is that's all turned around completely within 3 months.
Yeah. So it's something that's very attainable because see, the other thing is too, all that being positive mindset and all that, it feels like you said it's going to take me a lifetime to be able to do that. And we want to change for the better, to change the narrative for our kids more quickly than that. We don't want your daughter's now grown up, my two are well and truly grown up. We want to do it before we get to that space where we've done, well, I was going to say where we've done damage, but I can't even say that's fair, where the programming within us has created the spaces where we've traumatized another group of human beings, our children. So 3 months is something that you could go, okay, yeah, I could do it. I could do that, you know.
Yeah.
But okay, so my question now is, how hard was it though? Because do you have to face all these demons? Do you have to be super honest with yourself? How does that work?
You do have to be honest with yourself. However, knowing that the trauma didn't start with you, we don't need to go to your original event
Okay.
where that happened because it
Right.
didn't start with you. It's just, so I have a bit of a saying that we come through our conditioning that runs through the lineage, we come into life predisposed to having certain experiences based on that programming. And so
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people that come in that say once a baby's born, it's completely innocent, it's a blank slate, but that's actually not true.
No.
We do come in with our fears, with our conditioning. There's research now that the mother's nervous system wires the baby's nervous system now.
Yep.
And so can you remind me of your question? Sorry.
Yes, so I wanted to know, because I said you'd obviously have
Yeah,
to face your demons
that's right.
and you
Yeah.
have to be honest.
Yes. So you do need to be honest with yourself as to where these things are showing up for you, but we
Yeah.
don't need to go to your original event because it didn't happen with you. So
Yeah.
therefore, the way the process is built, it's completely non-traumatic. So you do have to be committed You do have to be all in. You have to be done with where you are. Like, you have to be at a point where you're not willing to accept your behavior and how you're showing up anymore. You are determined to pave a different way for yourself and for your children. However, once we have that commitment, you really just need to show up and be all in for your sessions. Yeah.
How do you fit that into your life as a mum?
Oh, okay, excellent. So this is a great question. With other things, it's something we need to practice. It's something we need to integrate. It's something we have to consciously do. With Creatrix, all a woman has to do is set aside 2 hours a week for her sessions for those 3 months, and she will have the transformation as a result of attending those sessions. Yes, she's got homework to do. It only takes half an hour to an hour a week to complete her homework in between the sessions, but the changes actually occur spontaneously as a result of having done the sessions.
Okay.
And gone through the process.
Yeah, so you said a lot earlier that we keep repeating the same thing, then our head believes it, and our head believes everything that we do because that's the way it's designed. Our brain doesn't differentiate between reality and non-reality. So that complete subconscious repeating is certainly one of our demons. So are you having to go into your head and repeat a lot of stuff, or what part of your soul is this getting to?
Oh, what part of your soul? That's so Creatrix, the process is built with the understanding of interuterine transfer, and that there's that intergenerational transfer, as well as understanding what we are as females. It understands the biology of the female. So it speaks to us in the language of the female unconscious. Okay, and I know that probably doesn't make any sense. So when you ask what level of the soul is it reaching, it's not I'm sure it does reach aspects of the soul, but it's not built to speak to the soul, because it's built understanding that our soul chose to be in a female body, which came in with all this conditioning.
Yes, yeah.
And so it addresses that.
Okay, so it really gets into the fiber of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to explain that, isn't it?
It
I
is.
get where you're coming from with that, because I believe the core of the female is the womb, and that's where it is.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like I want to pull what you're saying and pull it into my womb, and that's going to help me release this stuff.
Yeah, I think of it like womb wisdom. So Marilyn Shermer, who created Creatrix, she asked, so what occurred to her in her years of research when she realized in her life that females were not getting the same lasting change that men were through other therapies. What she realized is that women grow a baby unconsciously within us. We don't have to think about growing the hand or the kidney or the leg. Like, it all just happens, as does the transfer of information and trauma.
Yeah.
And so she hypothesizes that as women, we have access to a different realm of unconscious information than men do. And so she thought the same wisdom that knows how to grow the baby and create the baby and program everything, the history into it, must also have the answers.
Yeah. Whoa, now look, we could do a whole session on just that. That's getting really deep, isn't it? And there's so much, what's the word, research now around this whole in utero transference of so many things. And when I look back now and I think about my second pregnancy, I was very unhappy. I had a 3-year-old. I was very sick. I used to have vitamin B shots every 2 days. I could not eat food with this baby. The whole thing was just from the minute I conceived to when I had him. And years later, he was diagnosed with bipolar. And I am convinced that it's because of that. A big part of it is the lack of the nutrients, the fact that I wasn't emotionally happy, and that transference get the feelings and all that get put in there at a very deep subconscious level.
Yeah.
And I had a little 3-year-old come up to me one day and put her arms around me because I was crying and say, "Mummy, you'll be okay." And you just feel so bad because they shouldn't be the ones that are giving you that kind of TLC. So I get where all that sort of comes from. And I think that there's a big part to play. And this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, if mum's listening right now and she feels she's failing, what do you think are some of the steps she can take right now that might help her break the cycle of how she's feeling? Not what's happening to her or what the kids are doing, but how she's feeling.
Yeah. So what she can start to do is reconnect back in with herself. And
How would she do that? Sorry, just to interject, how would she do that? Because that's something that we say, but how do you do that?
how do you do that? That's a good
Yeah.
question. And it's when you've got little children, it's difficult.
Yeah.
However, every woman needs to remember that they are an individual, not just a mother. And I think when we take on this identity, or when we become mothers, our children are naturally attached to us. And so here's what I have to offer in that regard. All the conditioning tells us that as mothers, we need to put our needs last. And I want to share my idea around this, which is that I want each woman to recognize that she is an individual and that her needs are just as important as her child's. They're not more important, they're not less important, they're just equal.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at it that way, or what if we ask the question, why are my needs not equal? That's just not fair, is it?
Yeah. No.
But
It isn't.
we can actually look at ourselves, our situation, our lives, and go, am I honoring any of my needs to the same level that I try to honor my child's? So I honor their need for space, I honor their need for affection, I honor their need for love, I honor their need for healthy food, I honor their need for hydration, I honor their need for comfort. At what point do we honor our need for hydration, our need for sleep, our need for connection with friends? And so all I kind of say is, how can you bring your needs up to be equal to those that you care for? Because you're not less important. You are a human. We all have human rights, and your human right is to have your needs recognized and met.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I would play with that idea as to how can I meet my needs whilst also meeting the needs of my child without both of us suffering. Because ultimately, when a mother's needs are not met, her child suffers because she is cranky, she is short, she
Yes,
isn't able to show
absolutely.
up. And
She's not happy. Yeah. All those things. Absolutely.
yeah, so I would just bring that idea to light rather than the whole put your oxygen mask on first and all that. That's all good in theory, but that makes us feel selfish.
Yeah.
But if our needs are just equal, that just makes sense. Makes sense to me. What do you think, Jennifer?
Yeah, no, it does. And I think that historical thought is that we've got to put everyone else first. And then when we do put ourselves in a situation of saying, firstly, learning the word no, that doesn't suit me to do that today, I can do it for you later. It's a hard lesson to learn if you're not that person. I had a beautiful thing from my daughter-in-law who said, "I just want you to be upfront with me, Jen. If you can't babysit, then just say so, because I'm good with that." But I'd always thought, oh, if I say no, I feel guilty. And I was just so relieved that she's that sort of person, right? Because I can actually say, look, I can do it later, but I can't do it this morning. And she goes, "Oh, fine." She said, "That's fine." And if it doesn't work for her, she'll get someone else to help her. So there's no pressure there. And that's about making sure that you are met in the right space.
That's right.
And that's exactly what you're saying, making it an even playing field.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a shame that, oh, this is a story we've got to get out to our ladies, isn't it? That you matter and that you are enough.
Yeah.
And that it's okay for you to say once a week I'm having 2 hours, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to go and have a coffee, I'm going to go and sit in the park, anything. But I'm having that 2 hours. So find a way to make that work for you.
That's exactly right. And I know everyone's in different situations. I know there's single mothers
Absolutely.
out here.
Been there, done that like you have too, but
Yeah. However, when we so it's something every idea comes to life from us from an idea.
yeah,
So when we can make this idea of getting time for ourselves something that we can aspire to, like we create our realities, right? So when we start to aspire to and focus on where we want to go and how we want to feel and what we do need, and instead of the question being, or the thinking being, I can never have that. The question, we could reframe that question, and this is in answer to your earlier question, we can reframe that question to, how can I make this happen?
yeah,
Because when we approach it with a, how can I make this happen? Just like I approached my healing to, surely there is something out there that works for women like me and can shift a lot in a short time and all of that. When I asked that question, I found it. So when we ask the question of how can I work out a way to have that 2 hours a week for myself, or how can I work out a way to balance my needs and my child's at the same time, then that's a good question.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah. Sadly, we do have to wind up our chat. Honestly, Naomi, we could go on for, I think we could probably do about 20 podcasts around this, and that's not a bad thing either. But I hope this conversation has helped some of our listeners, particularly mums and even grandparents. There's a space there in grandparent land now where it's very challenging as grandparents also with bringing up children. But I'd just love to thank you for sharing that really raw stuff about being an angry mum. And hopefully that has resonated with some of our listeners that it's okay, but there needs to be a space where you think, how far is that going to go and what do I need to do with it? So we'll include below the contact Facebook details for Naomi so that you can get in touch with her and maybe follow up on that creatrix stuff, which I think sounds really interesting. I'm going to have a look at that. And I thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. And also for your listeners, I do actually run a free 5-day challenge, which is one-on-one. And so
Excellent.
if that's something they want to do, where they want to learn more about what they can do now, they can start that way as well. But yeah, big thank you for having me on. I'll send you my details, and yeah, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And for those who are listening for more parenting unfiltered, go to my YouTube channel and have a look. There's some amazing guests that I've had over the time, and I'd love you to go and have a look because there's lots of great stories and there's lots of probably some answers for you too, depending on what it is that you're dealing with at this point in time in your life. So, in parental love, this is Jennifer, and I shall see you next time. Bye. I never know how to turn it off. Here we go. Stop recording.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Honestly, it's so great. I love that you're doing this work in the world because it's so important. So
Thank you. I think I love the fact that we can hold each other and we can actually expand each other's space to share this work. And that's what I love doing as well, is upholding other women doing important work, because
thank you.
we're all I think the world just needs a little bit more TLC.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
And I also feel that there's wisdom that is important as well. And I know that I've got learned wisdom. I'm that bit older, and I know that's valuable. It took me a long time to realize it was valuable, but I know it's valuable. And I know that because a lot of young people don't have older people in their life, it's important for them to understand that old people do have stuff that can be helpful and it can give them that feeling of safety,
Yeah.
and being loved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely you're so right. Having someone like yourself who's putting this information out there is really valuable. And I agree, when the older we get, the more wisdom that we have.
Yeah.
So what I can share, what I didn't get to share, is my daughter and I have healed our relationship significantly since I've done this work. But yeah, I think when we're older, we do just have so much wisdom to share. And for some of us, we don't come into our own until we hit our 50s, because up until then we've been raising kids. So
I think that is the whole point though, Naomi, is that lived experience gives you that wisdom. Not everybody gets it though, to be fair. And I think part of it is that you do become, if you wish to, you become more emotionally intelligent because you are constantly testing the boundaries and wanting to find out more. And that's the sort of person I am. And I like to get through the traumas and I like to get through all the shite that was there early in my life and go, you know what? I'm still here. I'm still okay. But it's a journey, isn't it?
it is a journey, and there are ups and downs. And that's the thing, like at the moment, because my husband was the youngest so his mum was 42 when she had him. So he doesn't have aging parents. My parents are getting to that age of being aging parents. So life never stops hitting us.
No.
And so we need to find ways to take that in our stride.
Yeah.
And grow ourselves through. Yeah. I've had to say to my husband, look, honey, I'm always going to be investing in programs. It's just who I am.
Of course, likewise. And the thing is, we can have another chat. I think it would be great to have another one around that, how that parent-child got healed, because that's another good one to add to the story because, what happened after that. Maybe there's people who want to know what happened to that little girl that you had, what happened to that mum little girl space that you had.
Yeah, you mentioned with your son, and I was going to say the interuterine transfer. So there's the transfer from when they're in us, but the interuterine transfer is the generational transfer. So when you existed inside, when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, you existed inside your grandmother's ovaries.
Yeah, I know.
And so there's that multi-generational transfer that happens at that time. So whatever grandma was going through would have impacted what formed in mum's ovaries.
I know, it's insane, isn't it?
It's crazy. And so unfortunately, I do come from a family where I'm one of 7 kids. There's a lot of mental illness that got passed down. The autism definitely runs in the family because my kids' cousins are ASD as well.
Oh.
And I've got a sister who's bipolar. But my daughter, so I like I said, I left an abusive relationship. Then I was on my own. And then she had the upbringing that she did because I hadn't yet learned. And so she struggles. Like she's got borderline personality disorder. She's also got the ASD. She's got the anxiety and the depression. And so she's working through that. In terms of our relationship, like we do have a good relationship, but that's a relationship that would not be possible had I not.
No, absolutely not. And that was where I got to with my child as well, with my son. The last 3 years that he's taken himself out of our life is, well, it's never one thing, but it is something that and it was driven more by his partner that she didn't want to be in there. And so because he's got a child, he's like between a rock and a hard place. But it's hard. And that's another whole story of a lot of grandparents being disowned by their children. It's painful and it's a grief that it is a serious grief. And it took a long time for me to deal with that I felt that it was my fault, that I was guilty for it. And I took all the blame. And really, that's not, he was 40, 45. He had the decision to do whatever he liked.
Yeah.
Right?
But it wasn't just you and what happened in your pregnancy. It could have been what happened in your mother's pregnancy as well. Do you know what I mean?
But the pain of him taking himself away was awful because we'd gone through so much together and he tried to commit suicide a few times. We'd gone through the mill together and I felt that we had, and I still feel we do, but I feel there's other influences that are making it challenging for him. Not that's excusing it, but he's taken my 2-year-old grandson away as well. And we had him for the first 2 years nearly every weekend. And there was that relationship there. And that's the other grief, is this little person doesn't know he's got more family. And he's growing up in a world of just mum, dad, and him. And it breaks my heart because he's got people who love him and can't be with him. And he wouldn't even remember us now because he was 2 when they stopped us from seeing him. And that breaks my heart because I know him and I love him and I remember him, but he doesn't even know we're out there. And it's awful. And there's a lot of grandparents in this space.
Yeah.
And it's a real grief for a lot of grandparents.
Yeah.
So there's lots going on. Family dynamics are pretty amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
They are.
gosh. But
Yeah.
there's a whole nother chapter but we all learn. We learn to wear the grief. We learn to find places to put these things. We learn to let go of the guilt that you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's so helpful because with my daughter, like she 100% blames me, and I 100% can see most of her points.
Yeah.
But when she does have her moments where she unloads everything on me, I just hold space now.
Of course. And there'll come a time, hopefully, when she gets a little bit more life worn, that perhaps she'll learn to let go of that blame. That'd be nice because it's good for her to let go of it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, lovely lady. Look, we could talk all day, but I'm going to let you go.
Thank you so much. You're absolutely beautiful, Jennifer. I really appreciate you.
That's all
Thank
right.
you.
And maybe we will do another one. And I'd love to speak to your other lady as well, whoever you think would work, because I think this is important as well, and we can share this amongst each other. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So yeah, when it's all done, let me know. I'll share it as well with my audience. And
yeah, and you keep it for yourself and do whatever you want to do with it, because it's both of ours. It's not mine.
Thank you.
To share. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving up your time today. It's been appreciated.
Oh, thank you for inviting me on.
It's been great. All right. All right. I'll let you go, darling. See you.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Parent to Parent, Parenting Unfiltered with Jennifer Morrison. Jennifer is a parent coach dedicated to creating a supportive space for parents, carers, and professionals. To learn more, connect with Jennifer or explore coaching opportunities by following the links in the show notes. Join us again next time for another unfiltered conversation, because parenting isn't perfect, and here it's unfiltered.